Hey there, you saw the title, so let's just get right into it. This video will cover all Easter eggs of both Portal 1 and 2. Toilet Easter egg. Starting off right where the entire series begins, many may not know that you can interact with the toilet here. Doing so will lead to this voice line.
Your business is appreciated.
Giant chicken. By looking at these clipboards in the behind the scenes areas of Portal 1, you will find subject 42 as failed, the skeleton in the corner being that of a chicken. This is as far as the official Easter egg part of this goes. For a bit more trivia about this however, this was then planned to be picked up in Portal 2, with early plans being to have a giant chicken boss fight. This was also later referenced in Aperture Desk Job, the Steam Deck flagship title that is set in the Portal universe, though confirmed non-canon by writer Eric Wolper. It is to be added though that in the email he wrote that confirmed this, he said, if we ever make another Portal game, that will be canon for sure, probably. Which is very funny and gives a good idea of what Valve thinks of the concept of canon itself. Ratman Dens. If you've played Portal, you've probably come across at least one of these areas on your own. These are dubbed Ratman Dens. They usually contain thrown together beds and empty cans of food. And most importantly, tons of scribbling on the walls. These are the dens of Doug Ratman, a character you can find out more about in the Lab Rat comics. They are a short and very fun read and directly impact the Portal lore and story of Chell. Wet floor sign. Though thankfully unused, included in the files is this wet floor sign referencing the "This is Sparta" scene of the movie 300.
This is Sparta!
The meme is of course ancient at this point, most likely older than a good chunk of the people watching, so it's good that they never ended up including it. It would have aged like milk. Rules of the portal gun. This one is I guess more of a secret rather than an Easter egg, but I think it fits into this video. Once you get the portal gun, GLaDOS will tell you about the rules of using it before being cut off at the final one.
Do not touch the operational end of the device. Do not look directly at the operational end of the device. Do not submerge the device in liquid, even partially. Most importantly, under no circumstances should you...
If you ever wondered what the full line sounds like, here it is.
Most importantly, under no circumstances should you remove the device from the testing area.
So it can be assumed that the final rule is to not remove the device from the testing area. Adrian Shephard keyboard. In universe, the portal gun is referred to as Aperture Science Handheld Portal Device, which abbreviates to Shephard, which seems like a short version of the name Adrian Shephard, the name of the Half-Life opposing force protagonist. Up to this point, it seems like an Illuminati conspiracy. Talk about a dead meme. And even though Portal lead game designer Kim Swift would go on to state that this was pure coincidence, they would end up referencing this name similarity. In the BTS areas of Portal you can find these keyboards. This keyboard has a total of 9 keys that are yellow, which just so happen to be all the letters needed to spell Adrian Shephard. This led some people to believe that the sequel would include him, given his fate is left open after opposing force. Of course, nothing ever came of this. At least yet. Black Mesa references. It can be argued if this is even an Easter egg or not. Half-Life and Portal are famously set in the same universe, even if some of the writers have expressed regret about this decision and thus placed Portal 2 far into the future. In Portal 1 you can find this slideshow about Black Mesa and Aperture Science being in competition with one another. On GLaDOS monitors in the boss fight chamber there is also one frame that shows a Black Mesa logo. The song in the finale also mentions Black Mesa.
Maybe you'll find someone else to help you. Maybe Black Mesa. That was a joke, haha, that chance.
And at the very end of Portal 1, GLaDOS mentions that she's the only thing between us and them, which is probably referring to the Combine. That being said, it's questionable if this can even be classified as an Easter egg anymore. The idea of having 2 different game series in the same universe was somewhat novel back then, but is way more common today. Cake recipe. By looking at this monitor in the back area of Aperture and Portal 1, between a lot of code gibberish you will find ingredients for a cake recipe. The intelligence core in the GLaDOS boss fight lists them off too. You're likely to miss this since you have to destroy it in order to fight GLaDOS. It features ingredients like injector needle gun or carnial caps, so it's not edible. It might just be the recipe to the cake we see at the end of Portal 1 though. Hoopy the Hoop. At the end of the game you may have noticed this hoop fall down and land in front of you. Valve called it Hoopy, and we're basically trying to force a viral meme. This obviously horribly failed, with pretty much everything from Portal but Hoopy becoming a huge cultural impact. Hoopy can also be found in the Lab Rat comics, in GLaDOS Destroyed Chamber, in Test Chamber 2 of Portal 2, in the Ratman Den of Chamber 6 in Portal 2, and in the ceiling of the exit when using the Portal 2 puzzle maker. I guess Hoopy did end up becoming a meme, just definitely not the way it was intended. Radios. In an update on March 1st, 2010, an achievement was added to Portal 1 called transmission received. This achievement was received by moving radios found in each test chamber to a certain position. These radios were also added alongside this update. By decoding the sounds heard from the radios using SSTV decoding software, you could find a bunch of images. This all played into an ARG that aimed at teasing Portal 2. The ARGs are quite complex, but also reward you with a bunch more Portal lore. If you want to know more about the Portal ARGs, you can check out Skyrion's videos on them for more detailed breakdowns. Commentary note Easter eggs. As with a few entries here, it can be argued if this is really an Easter egg, but I personally deem it one. You may be aware of the Portal commentary mode. You can play through the game and then interact with these notes to hear developer commentary, which sometimes even change the environment to demonstrate things. Well, there is a hidden one you can find. In Chamber 18, by entering this BTS area, you will find one of Ellen McLean, voice of GLaDOS in Portal and announcer in TF2 among other things. On a similar note, you can find one in a Ratman Den of Portal 2 that has to be translated using SSTV software once more. If you decode it, this commentary note goes into the creation of the Portal ARGs. Jellyfish. Once the escape starts, you will find this behind the scenes room that is looking at Chamber 9. If you take a close look at the wall here, you will see a scribble of a jellyfish, with the writing, "Nice little jellyfish." If I had to assume, this is probably a drawing made by a child of a level designer of Portal, which would be very cute. GLaDOS rare voice lines. Throughout the game there are a bunch of ways to trick the test chambers or to softlock yourself. Valve actually accounted for some of these, adding unique voice lines to GLaDOS. Here they are.
You're not a good person. You know that, right? Through no fault of the Enrichment Center, you have managed to trap yourself in this room. An escape hatch will open in 3, 2, 1. Despite the best efforts of the Enrichment Center staff to ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities, you have managed to ensnare yourself permanently inside this room. A complimentary escape hatch will open in 3, 2, 1. Through no fault of the Enrichment Center, you have managed to trap yourself in this room. An escape hatch will open in 3, 2, 1.
In Portal 2 there are a few more unique ones, including one from the pre-GLaDOS voice.
You have trapped yourself. Congratulations. The exit door is now open.
Oops. You trapped yourself. I guess that's it then. Thanks for testing. You may as well lie down and get acclimated to the being dead position. I'm kidding. Not about you trapping yourself, though. That really happened. Here, I'll lower the glass. Go on. Finish the test. Uh-oh, you're stranded. Let's see if the cube will try to help you escape. Actually, so that we're not here all day, I'll just cut to the chase. It won't. Any feelings you think it has for you are simply byproducts of your sad, empty life. Anyway, here's a new cube for you to project your deranged loneliness onto. If you think trapping yourself is going to make me stop testing, you're sorely mistaken. Here's another cube.
If you want a step-by-step tutorial on how to unlock each of these yourself, I'll link a video in the description for that. Let's get to Portal 2. I cross-covered some Portal 2 Easter eggs in the first half of this video, so I won't be repeating those in case you only plan on watching the second half, for whatever reason. Let's get into it. Also, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing. Thank you. Motel Images. The beginning of the game has you what looks like a motel room. Looking around before you go to sleep, you will see some images on the wallpaper and this picture frame. If we are to look at these same images after sleeping, you will find some big changes. The picture frame has changed to night, and so has the wallpaper, on which we find a human replaced with a howling wolf. Perhaps there is some lore reasoning to this? If so, we don't know what. Presumably it's just an Easter egg though. GLaDOS fast speaking. You may remember GLaDOS saying this.
This next test does require some explanation. Let me give you the fast version. And then I can time to get to see as soon as I can. There. If you have any questions, just remember what I said in slow motion.
By slowing down this voice line, you'll hear this.
And methodically knocking people's hats off. Then I count at high time to get to see as soon as I can.
Which is a line from the beginning of the Moby Dick novel. Exile Vilify. Exile Vilify is the name of a song made for Portal 2 by The National. It was originally intended for an Easter egg ending of Portal 2 that could be achieved about 20 minutes into the game, which was scrapped. Now it can be heard on the radio in a Ratman Den.
It takes your mind again.
Wheatley translated sentence. When Wheatley first takes control of the facility, he brags about being a genius now, to which he says a sentence in Spanish.
And check this out, I'm a bloody genius now.
Estás usando este software de traducción de forma incorrecta. Por favor, consulte el manual.
I don't even know what I just said, but I can find out.
If you are to translate this, it says, "You are using this translation software incorrectly. Please consult the manual." companion cube. If you listen very closely when standing near a companion cube, you can hear it singing. It also sounds like cat noises a bit, which could be what Ratman was referencing with this catboy cube drawing in one of his dens, and is possibly also a reference to Schrödinger's cat. Chell's experiment. During the visit to Old Aperture, we see many potato experiments done on Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. One of them was done by Chell. She simply created a potato battery, or rather she simply measured how many volts it creates, which she notes she did for last year's project as well. Her hypothesis is that this experiment will produce less volts than the one from last year because the potato is older, which it turns out to be the contrary. It produces 0.1 more volts for a total amount of 1.6 volts. Turret song. If you finish Portal 2, you'll know of the ending cutscene Turret Opera. There is however another time you can find turrets singing together. In Chamber 16, you can go through a little gap and see a group of 4 turrets singing a song. There is another turret that isn't singing though, called the Prima Donna turret, meaning first woman in Italian. This is the same turret seen in the final cutscene too. Given this turret's bigger look, this is presumably meant to be a reference to the popular saying, "It's not over until the fat lady sings." This saying comes from operas, particularly some popular longer ones. These often ended in a dramatic song sung by a powerful female character, which stereotypically used to be portrayed by bigger women. So it could generally be assumed in operas that it's not over until the fat lady sings, even if it seemed like it was nearing the ending. These days, the saying is used to say that you shouldn't assume something is over just because it seems like it's nearing the end. And in this case, Chamber 16 is the final usual test chamber you play. But this is obviously far from the game's end, as is implied by the Prima Donna turret, aka the fat lady, not singing, which she only does at the actual end. So yeah, tons of meaning hidden in this little Easter egg. Ratman in space. The achievement Final Transmission is a callback to the radios of Portal 1. You have to retrieve a radio, bring it to a certain spot, and then receive its message. And as always, you can decode the message. Decoding it, you will see the image of a companion cube on the moon. The moon being one of Ratman's obsessions. So some speculate this may mean he made it to the moon. I personally love the theory. Borealis. For the final Half-Life reference in this video, in Portal 2 you are able to find the dock in which the Borealis was kept. Perhaps the most important object in the Half-Life universe, P-Body. In this sequence in Portal 2, you can catch a quick glimpse at one of the co-op protagonists, P-Body. Achievements. Some achievements contain fun references. The achievement Bridge Over Troubling Water that you receive for completing the first Hard Light Bridge test is a reference to the song of the same name, Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. There's also Can't Touch This, which you get by dancing in front of a turret blocked by a hard light bridge in co-op, which is a reference to the song You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. Karla. Karla the Complainer is a character mentioned on a poster in the chapter The Reunion. It wouldn't be noteworthy at all. It was however confirmed that the name comes from Jay Pinkerton's wife, Karla Pacheco. Her name is also found in the Death Toll campaign in Left 4 Dead amongst a list of dead people in the church. Very eerie to include a name of someone you love in there if you ask me. Not for her though it seems, so good for her. Oracle Turret. You can find this turret in Portal 2 dubbed the Oracle Turret. The Oracle Turret details the legend of the Greek titan Prometheus, one that features many similarities to GLaDOS and the story itself. For example,
Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man. He was cast into the bowels of the earth and pecked by birds.
The sentence is slightly changed from the original. Prometheus actually gave the gift of fire to man and was exiled on top of a mountain, where his liver got ripped out by birds every day. It was slightly changed to fit better to Portal 2 though. GLaDOS gifts knowledge by telling Wheatley that he was designed to be a moron, which causes him to throw GLaDOS and Chell down into Old Aperture, the bowels of the earth. Once Chell and GLaDOS land, we find GLaDOS being picked at by a crow. Co-op Terminator Easter egg. In the Portal 2 peer review DLC, you can find this arm in a glass case. This is a reference to Terminator's arm being put in a glass case in Terminator 2. In addition to this, there's an animation of Atlas drowning that has him stick his arm up like the Terminator, meaning Atlas is canonically the Terminator. If you're up for more things Portal, you can check out my Portal Iceberg video, which includes tons of more fun information surrounding all the Portal games. Otherwise, thank you for watching.
Try.